In the Arctic, geologists Julia and Oskar are doing some experiments by setting up explosives underwater. At that moment they receive a call warning them about a storm, so they have to get going. Nearby, a Russian submarine is detecting high-intensity noises of unknown origin. To their shock, the seabed appears to be rising. Julia's scanners go crazy right before the ice around her camp begins to crack. She wants to pick up her research before leaving, but there's no time, so Oskar drags her to the snowmobile. In the submarine, the team detects that the noises are of biological origin and gets ready for evasive maneuvers. However, the submarine is suddenly hit by something in the water. On the surface, Oskar and Julia are trying to escape as fast as possible as the ice continues to crack behind them. Unfortunately, the cracks appear ahead too and the snowmobile is pushed by the rising ice. The duo rolls off while the snowmobile explodes and sinks. Soon their camp is exploding too and the remaining scientists slowly sink to their deaths. The submarine keeps taking damage and the men can barely stay on their seats as everything shakes. After some struggle they manage to open fire, and the resulting light reveals some huge tentacles in the water. A man is sent flying through a glass screen and passes out from his injuries. Another officer manages to send out the emergency buoy right before the submarine sinks. In the Russian Marines' headquarters, they learn about the submarine's disappearance. Since it was carrying very important weapons, they send out a rescue team to retrieve them or destroy them. The mission will be led by Viktor, the brother of the submarine captain. His family is worried that he may disappear as well, and his mother gives him his dead father's watch as a token of good luck. That night Viktor arrives at the docks and discovers that his father's friend Admiral Olshansky is coming to the mission too. The first mate is worried that Olshansky may be too old and cranky for the job. When Viktor gets in the submarine, many crew members complain that they were pulled from their vacations for this. Meanwhile, Julia and Oskar are wandering in a snowstorm, trying to get a signal on their phone. Julia is distracted by the screen and almost falls into an abyss, but Oskar catches her just in time. At that moment her phone finally finds a signal from an oil rig and calls them. However, the snowstorm makes too much noise and the rig workers don't understand her. The phone soon loses signal and the call ends. A desperate Oskar shoots a flare before collapsing. In the morning, the submarine makes it to the disappearance spot and after lots of preparations, they finally dive in. The crew notices that Olshansky takes Viktor to a private room with other high officers and makes them read a report that leaves them looking upset. Soon rumors of the previous submarine's disappearance start spreading. Back to Julia and Oskar, they're surprised to discover the buoy stuck in the ice. Realizing someone will come for this, they decide to stop wandering and wait there. When the submarine finally picks up the buoy signal, it immediately heads in that direction. A bunch of whales suddenly surround the submarine, so the crew tries to move down without hurting them. One of the whales accidentally hits a rotary screw head, so Olshansky tells the crew to turn on the sonar, ignoring Viktor's concerns about possibly harming the creatures. When they activate the sonar, the whales swim away, only to return a second later. The crew wonders what to do until they notice the whales going away for real this time. It turns out there's a low-frequency noise in the area and the seabed is rising. A huge tentacle moves in the darkness and kills a whale with just one hit. The submarine crew worries because they can't identify the sound while their radar detects something big coming. Thinking it may be an enemy, Olshansky wants to open fire, but Viktor points out they can't be sure and orders the crew to find a place to hide instead. The submarine enters a crack in the ice wall, shaking every time the ice hits it and breaks. The noise in the radar is getting stronger and hurts the ears of those with headphones. As the mysterious enemy chases after them, the crew is forced to stop the submarine because the wall blocks their way. Thankfully, their pursuer has already gone away. While the crew assesses the damage that the submarine has taken, Olshansky scolds Viktor for taking unnecessary risks. They have no choice but to resurface for repairs. On the surface, Julia and Oskar are cuddling against some rocks to try to stay warm. Suddenly they see the ice cracking as the submarine emerges from the water. The crew immediately sees the survivors and comes out to meet them. After making sure that the duo isn't armed, they hear their story. Viktor checks on the buoy before talking to Olshansky, who tells him to only give some food to the civilians and leave them behind because they could be spies. However, Viktor takes pity on them and tells them to join them. Afterward, the submarine goes back underwater so they can start the search near the buoy. After a medical check, Julia and Oskar are fed. Viktor joins them at the table and shows them a map, asking them to point at their camp and wondering if they saw anything strange. When Julia tells him about the explosives, Viktor concludes that's what sank his brother's vessel. The crew discusses how to proceed and Olshansky says they should go back because of the mysterious threat, since they won't be able to send an emergency signal if they're attacked again. However, Viktor is desperate to find his brother and orders the crew to send the submarine in the direction of Julia's camp. Olshansky talks to Viktor in private and warns him that this is the second time he makes the wrong choice. If he makes another one, it'll be over. Then Viktor explains to his first mate that they need to hurry up because if the other submarine has any survivors, they probably don't have much oxygen left. Meanwhile, Julia hears a strange noise and Oskar points out it's the sonar looking for the other submarine. The search continues for a while until the radar finds the mysterious opponent coming after them again. Viktor tells the crew to find a place to hide like they did before, but this is an open area without cover. They decide to send an emergency signal to the oil rig and they're relieved to get permission to hide there. While the submarine gets ready to resurface, the workers at the rig see giant tentacles rising from the sea and activate the alarm. The tentacles start attacking the rig, bringing down all the structures and causing many explosions. The workers panic and try to run, but there's nowhere for them to go as the rig starts to crumble. The submarine loses contact, so Viktor uses the periscope to investigate. He's horrified to watch the tentacles bring down the rig and sends the image to the screen so the crew can see what they're dealing with. Once the rig has been completely destroyed, the mysterious monster goes after the submarine again. The vessel has to make a sudden turn to escape and things fall all over the kitchen. Olshansky thinks that Viktor making the crew escape instead of attacking is his third mistake and announces he's taking over leadership. 2 torpedoes are quickly shot and they successfully hit their target, so Olshansky says that this is how it's done. However, Olshansky's face falls when he hears an officer announce that the enemy is still moving. More torpedoes are shot and another explosion indicates they've hit the target again, but this is still not enough to kill it. The monster is coming after them and Olshansky freezes because he doesn't know what to do, so Viktor has to assume command again. He makes the crew move the submarine as fast as possible and they manage to dodge most of the incoming attack, but the tentacle still brushes the submarine and causes some damage. The whole crew falls and Viktor hits his head, leaving him dizzy. Some of the computers short-circuit and one even crushes a man. The submarine starts sinking and the animal uses the chance to hit it again. An explosion goes off in the torpedo compartment, which starts a fire. They cut the ventilation and seal that area, leaving 7 people inside who use extinguishers to take care of the flames. Another hit from the tentacles makes the submarine start falling faster and the radar says the beast is surrounding them from all sides. A closer look finally reveals that it's a Kraken. Since they can't use the last torpedoes, the crew discusses their options and Viktor tells them to enter silence mode because marine creatures usually hunt by noise. The workers have to stop fighting the fire for now, which causes the levels of carbon monoxide to rise in the torpedo compartment. As a noise from the beast hurts the communicator officer's ears through the headphones, the men in the torpedo room wonder if they'll die like this. Fortunately, Viktor's plan works and the Kraken swims away. Now the crew can move again, but the fire has spread and is too big to be put off by just a few extinguishers. As a few men are burned by the flames, Viktor tells the group to leave the compartment and let the weapons burn. More officers are severely damaged on their way out, but the rest of the crew is there to help them cross the door, closing it at the last second to stop the fire from following them. By manipulating the pressure in the torpedo compartment, they finally put out the fire. Afterward, all the healthy men are sent to do repairs while the wounded people are sent to the infirmary or their rooms. Oskar and Julia help them treat the men's injuries, earning the crew's trust. Julia also takes care of Viktor's forehead cut and an officer wonders if she's into him. When Julia denies it, the officer informs her that Viktor broke the rules to save her. Later, Viktor asks the crew's opinion on the situation and they all agree they have to go back because they have no clue of the other submarine's location and no protection against the Kraken. Olshansky reminds Viktor that his father was a hero for saving people during a submarine incident, but he died in the process. After lots of hesitation, Viktor agrees they should go. While the submarine starts making its way home, Viktor reads the last letter his father left him. He's interrupted by Julia, who notices there are birds in Viktor's room. He explains there is a way to check on the oxygen levels. Julia asks for a map and points at all the locations where they saw the Kraken plus her camp. Stories say that this beast attacked many ships in the past only to suddenly disappear, thus scholars theorize that the Kraken went into a deep slumber. She concludes that her explosives hit a hidden lair and woke the Kraken up. If they want to survive, they must turn off the sonar, otherwise it'll attract the creature again. Since Julia seems to understand the Kraken so well, Viktor asks if she knows where his brother's submarine is. Julia explains that octopuses usually drag their prey to their lair, which should be located where her camp used to be. Their conversation is interrupted by an officer announcing he's found a clue. He plays a recording from the moments they spent in silent mode and everyone can hear a sound of something knocking on metal. They track the signal and confirm it comes from Julia's camp, which means the other submarine may have survivors. Viktor gives a speech about the importance of saving human lives and the dangers they're about to encounter, then he orders his men to take the submarine to Julia's camp. During the trip, Viktor thinks about his childhood and the day he got lost in the mountains. He only snaps out of it when they reach the search area. Suddenly rivets start flying off machines and walls all over the submarine, breaking glass and lights. This means they're too deep, so they make the submarine go higher. An officer then notices that they found a bottomless abyss and Viktor wants to send the mini-submarine to investigate. Since one of the pilots was hurt during the attack, Viktor volunteers to take his place and leaves Olshansky in charge. The mini-submarine leaves with Viktor and 2 officers. They can hear the metal cracking as they search the abyss because it's never gone down this deep. The pressure soon starts taking its toll on the vessel, so if they don't find something quickly they'll have to go back. When they hear an echo, they head in that direction and discover hundreds of sunk ships, which means Julia's theory and the myths were right. Eventually they find the other submarine and notice all the damage it's received. Thankfully the nose is still intact, which means survivors may be hiding there. The team tries to dock the mini-submarine on top of it, which is harder than it looks because of the strong currents. After lots of struggle, they manage to make the connection, then Viktor puts on diving gear and crosses the connection. He knocks on the other submarine before opening the hatch, and he's delighted to discover that the crew has survived, including his brother Alexander. They send the news to the main submarine and everyone celebrates. Alexander explains he left the submarine in silent mode since they were captured and only sent a signal every now and then to avoid getting the Kraken's attention. Viktor sends as many survivors into the mini-submarine as they can fit, but it's clear they'll need 2 trips to save them all. He decides to stay with his brother, and a mechanic will take over the last pilot's place. The mini-submarine installs a tracker on the main nose so they can find the location when they come back, but they have to turn it off when they realize it may get the Kraken's attention. When the mini-vessel finally takes off, the whole submarine wreckage shakes, but thankfully it doesn't fall. Soon they reach the main submarine and immediately start taking care of the survivors. The replacement pilot is too sick to do another trip, so Julia asks Oskar for help. Oskar has experience working in submarines and agrees to go. While the mini-vessel takes off, Olshansky sees on the radar that the Kraken is moving again. Meanwhile, Viktor and Alexander decide to retrieve the weapons that their superiors asked for. They enter the destroyed submarine area and find the codes in the safe. However, when they try to use them on the computer, the system won't respond. Viktor refuses to give up, and after trying tons of buttons, he finally manages to turn on the computer and is happy to see that the weapons are still functional. The resulting electromagnetic pulse is picked up by the mini-submarine, which starts following it back in the main submarine. The crew is terrified to see the Kraken getting too close. They rush to land the submarine on the seabed and enter silent mode. The Kraken pushes a big rock that hits the submarine, and soon the rivets are flying off again because of the pressure. Water starts flooding one of the compartments, so the crew doesn't know if they'll be able to keep silent mode for long. At the same time, the mini-submarine makes it to the wreckage, and when they're in the process of docking, they accidentally hit the tracker and turn it on. The Kraken is about to attack the main submarine, but at that moment it senses the tracker and starts swimming back to its lair. Olshansky immediately orders the crew to use this opening to return to the surface. In the meantime, Viktor crawls through a pipe so he can reach the weapons in the torpedo room, which was blocked by the wreckage. Alexander hears the mini-submarine dock and tells his crew to go aboard while he waits for his brother. Eventually Viktor reaches the weapons room and starts inputting the codes into the torpedoes while Alexander does the same on the computer. The weapons will take a while to load, which gives the Kraken enough time to find them. The crew braces for impact while the tentacles start closing around the submarine. The brothers talk on the radio and apologize for their past fights. The Kraken manages to tear off half of the submarine, but thankfully is the empty tail. When it's about to attack again, the brothers coordinate their moves and press the buttons at the same time to finally start the weapon. A very powerful explosion heats the beast and causes it to explode, resulting in a huge beam of light that breaks through the Arctic ice and even reaches the atmosphere. With the water now flooding the submarine, Viktor rushes back through the pipe to reunite with Alexander. The weapons will self-destruct soon, so they need to move fast. The submarine starts sinking and strong waves hitting the corridors cause the brothers to split. Viktor searches for Alexander and finds his hand popping out of the water. He grabs it and pulls until Alexander is safe with him again. They hurry to climb the stairs and get in the mini-submarine, closing the door before the water can follow them. With only 2 minutes left for an explosion, the mini-submarine fails to undock. As the wreckage starts falling down the abyss, Viktor remembers the emergency lever and pulls it, which allows the mini-submarine to finally disconnect. They take off right before the weapons explode and the shockwaves send the mini-submarine rolling through the sea. On the surface, the main submarine is waiting for news. They are about to lose hope when they see some bubbles in the water. It's the mini-vessel, which has finally returned. While everyone celebrates, Viktor tries to give Alexander their father's watch, but Alexander tells him to keep it because he's earned it. Sometime later, the crew arrives in Russia and the brothers can finally reunite with their family. Make sure to subscribe our channel Cinema-Fathom and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.